We're actually camping at, what was it called?
The Virgin Dam.
Virgin Dam BLM area, which is freaking beautiful.
This is wild. It's a fine line between when is it too much. If you have a fear of heights, we do not suggest doing this. I did a total rookie move today and I didn't follow my own advice.
What's up?
Hey everyone!
We have made it to, or headed toward Zion. We're actually camping at, what was it called?
The Virgin Dam.
Virgin Dam BLM area, which is freaking beautiful. You're right at the entrance of the canyon. Sunsets here are amazing. The last light turns everything this crazy red color.
And the best part is it's free, and it's only 20 minutes or 25 minutes from the actual entrance of Zion, which is where we're headed right now.
That's
And
right.
today's hike is going to be Angel's Landing.
Yep, and we don't have to tell you that we're already getting started crazy freaking late. It's probably almost 11 or later now. So let's stop talking about it and go check out Angel's Landing in Zion.
Come join us.
Once you get into the BLM, the road in here is actually really freaking rough. But with that said, we got a 36-foot trailer. There's a schoolie here, a freaking school bus, and there's two big old toy haulers just like ours that are down in the same camping spot. So as long as you take your time, go super slow, and pick the right line to get down these gnarly, like, bermy roads, you'll be just fine. Now, I will say though that it might get muddy if there's been rain recently, so also take that in consideration. If you're driving in and you know this area has gotten a day or two of rain, this is going to turn into a sloppy mess.
We heard Zion National Park was one of the busiest national parks there is, and we are here in somewhat of peak season. Spring and fall are definitely the busiest times in Zion because the weather is gorgeous. So if you are coming here, there are several parking lots within the town that's just outside of Zion. You can pay to park there and then you can take a shuttle in if you're finding yourself in the busy season like us. This is wild. It's a fine line between when is it too much of it's great people want to come to Zion and see this natural beauty and hike and get outside and connect with nature, but then you have thousands of people in one day here, and it's hard to determine when do you say no, when do you stop and restrict how many people can come here, because this is crazy. We're finally off the shuttle. We started Angel's Landing hike, which is about a 1,500-foot elevation gain and around 5.4 miles round trip. If you have a fear of heights, we do not suggest doing this actual hike. You can just do the West Rim Trail, which is mainly the elevation gain. You just don't go out on the actual strip where you're holding on to an actual rope or line so that you don't fall off either side of the cliff. That's the scary part. But we do also want to mention that the visitor numbers have just dramatically increased in the past 3 years. And in the future, they're probably going to be limiting the number of visitors during some of the busy seasons. They don't know what that's going to look like yet, but it is something to be aware of. And make sure to check the actual National Park Service website to see if there is any limitations on the number of visitors and the time that you want to go. All the way up there. You need some water. It's important to hydrate. It's really warm here and you're in high elevation in the desert, so it's easy to think that you're fine and then all of a sudden you're dehydrated. So drink lots of water. And there is water fill-ups at the visitor center and the lodge if you don't have your own water. You're gonna need 2 hands. Stop filming.
Hell no.
This hike was epic. It was an awesome way to start our time in Zion and is definitely worth all the hype that comes with this trail. Even if you're afraid of heights, I definitely suggest pushing yourself because this was amazing. When you get to the top and have all of the views, like 360 of Zion, it's just breathtaking. But it was strenuous and I'm tired, so now we have to scramble down this thing and get some rest. Come on!
All right.
Today is day 2 in Zion and we're going to go back into the park and try and explore the Narrows and do a few other smaller hikes around this beautiful national park. But it's supposed to rain tomorrow, and since we're in a rather muddy free camping spot, we wanted to move to slightly higher ground and a little bit closer to the actual exit so that hopefully on Monday when we're supposed to be leaving, if it is a little bit muddy, we won't be stuck way far in the back. And my job is to make sure he doesn't hit any ruts and that we avoid most rocks and bumps, so I will be directing the RV and truck.
We just upgraded our spot big time. This thing's way more level. It's nowhere close to the swamp that I know is going to happen when it starts raining tonight, because it's like 80% chance of rain. I'm not sure about the, inches rainfall they're predicting, but I just don't want to be down in a muddy mess trying to get out of here on Monday. Other cool things to note is, you see my solar panel back there? I've only got to touch it twice now instead of moving it all the way around the trailer depending on the time of day because it's facing south. So I tilted a little to the east for the morning, tilted a little to the west for the rest of the afternoon. perfect. So now I don't have to worry about it when we're in the national park if it's getting optimal sun or not. So great. But yeah, now that we've done all that monkeying around, it's time to head back into Zion. Looks like we're just in time too. If we would have waited 10 minutes later, we probably wouldn't have gotten this spot. So what I've learned is you can't do the scenic drive at all, which is the part that doesn't have the tunnel with all of the stops leading to 89 in a car. So you have to take the shuttle buses. The only time you're ever gonna have to buy a permit is if you want to get to 89 through the park. And then the only time you got to pay for that permit is if you're driving a dually truck dragging any sort of trailers. Oh yeah, well, an RV in general, there are height restrictions. You can't be over 7.5 feet wide, which is exactly what a dually truck is. It's probably more like 7'11". So if you're within the restrictions of the height or width, then you got to get the permit. Either way, you can't do the scenic drive. Burn, burn, burn. If you're in something that anyone would consider oversized, like a dually, a Class C, Class B, or you're considered an RV, just go ahead and pull into the RV parking space because there's usually something open, especially if you're smaller, Sprinter van size, then you're gonna get in a lot faster. But this is way better than trying to find parking in the park, and you don't have to pay to park in town if you have a national parks pass like us. Dude, check that thing out. There's all kinds of European import models of RVs, Class Bs and Class Cs that we have seen that people are shipping over or bringing down from Canada that are way cooler than any of the stuff we have in the States. It's a Fiat chassis. I don't really know if it's, if the chassis is any good or whatnot, any better than the Transit or whatever the thing that Dodge puts out, but that thing looks freaking cool, man.
Another stamp in the book.
Yes.
This is great. Today there's like almost no line for the shuttle. It's a Saturday, which is extra weird, and we're not quite sure because this is around the same time as we got here yesterday. But we're gonna actually do the Weeping Wall hike today, which is a rather mild, flat, it's an easy hike. I think it's like a half-hour round trip. And then we're actually gonna do the river walk into the Narrows. We're not going to do the Narrows hike, which is probably the most famous hike here in Zion, because it's very cold water and we don't want to, but we are going to peek at it.
This is Weeping Rock. This is actually considered a spring because snow melt and rainfall filters down through porous layers of rock and then finally hits a non-porous layer of rock, and then it's forced out laterally through a crack, and then it creates this crazy cool waterfall effect, and also lets plants, actually called hanging gardens, survive on the sides of these cliffs. The hike to Weeping Rock from the trailhead is actually super easy. It's like a half-mile round trip. It's a little bit of a grade, but you can make it. You definitely need to come up here and check this out for yourself. So we finally made it to the end of the Zion Scenic Drive, which is the Riverside Trail. It's a super easy walk. It's mostly flat. It does take about an hour, and it takes you straight to the entrance of the Narrows. If you're gonna hike the Narrows, make sure you have the right equipment. Back in town in Springdale, you can actually rent waders for about 50 bucks a person that will make your life way better hiking into the Narrows, because it's a slot canyon, let's remember that. So there's not much sun all day. So it's windy, it's cold. In some spots the water comes up waist high, if not more, depending on the amount of rain that they've had. And it's only 54 degrees. So do yourself a favor, spend the 50 bucks, get the waders, and hike, miles into that thing if you want to. Now, the other thing I want to mention is there's a sign right at the mouth of this trail that tells you the likelihood of a flash flood. Because just because you see blue skies above you when you enter the Narrows doesn't mean that they haven't had rain upstream and that rush of water is coming down the Slot Canyon. Definitely check the flash flood probability before you enter into the Narrows, because you don't want to get caught in a flash flood, that's for freaking sure. Fun fact, Zion, before it was named Zion, was actually a Paiute word called Makuntaweep, and that actually means straight up lands. And whenever you're in these canyons, you can really tell why the natives decided to name this the straight up lands. It is insane. So there comes a point in the trip, in any hike, when Liz is so annoyed that I'm still clicking away on the camera. And I always say, all right, I'm putting the camera away, I'm turning the camera off, I'm turning the camera off. And you and I both know that me actually turning the camera off before we get back to the tram is a total lie. I'm just gonna keep clicking away and Liz is gonna keep getting more and more annoyed, but that's all right. So for our last day, we decided to do the Lower Emerald Pools hike, and we checked out the Human History Museum. Today is a lot less busy than this weekend. This weekend was a freaking zoo. I don't know if it's got anything to do with us being here on a Monday or that it's also so late in the day that we arrived here, but man, this is way better. I don't feel like I'm gonna get trampled trying to get off the freaking shuttle. So I guess the tip here is, if you're gonna make a visit to Zion, definitely come here at the beginning of the week, like a Monday to Wednesday type of a schedule. I'm so stoked that we're actually getting to do the Lower Emerald Pool Trail in fall, because look at all these colors behind me, man. There's enough water in this canyon year round that vegetation grows really dense compared to other areas of the park, even around the Virgin River. I will say though that the waterfall, supposedly in spring, is roaring like way faster than this. But how beautiful is that? So the stop that you're gonna get off the tram to do this trail is the Zion Lodge. The trail from the lodge all the way to the Lower Emerald Pool is paved. It does get a little slick and slippery right when you get underneath the waterfall because it's always wet. So be careful of that, but it's a super easy hike. Well worth doing if you're gonna make a trip to Zion.
I did a total rookie move today, and I didn't follow my own advice of always packing layers. So I don't have a jacket, I'm wearing a tank top. I'm wearing sandals, and it's freezing. Don't be like me.
All right, we are getting the heck out of Utah today. Zion was freaking amazing. We're actually glad.
All of Utah was amazing.
Yeah, I would second that. All of Utah is amazing. Like the BLM, by the way, did get really sloppy after the rains, and we're super glad we moved just for peace of mind. I don't think it was absolutely necessary. I don't think we would have got stuck where we were camping, but we did see a dude have to get pulled out of a mud hole in his Chevy Blazer by another guy, a fellow camper. Thank God he was there, because I don't have any tow straps. That's probably something we need to think about getting.
We couldn't have helped if we
Couldn't
wanted
have
to.
helped him.
But yeah, no, it was great. The BLM's really close to Zion, and we just loved that we can explore a lot of our national parks and not have to pay big expensive fees and have these gorgeous views. So we'll put where we camped. This was on Campendium, so thank you again, Campendium. We'll put it down in the area below. And now we are going for a very special trip to Arizona, because my mom is flying in to Flagstaff, and we are going to spend a week with her exploring Page and exploring Sedona. So we will see you next week in Arizona.
If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button, ring the little bell next to it.
And
that way you get alerts, and definitely give it a thumbs up, and we'll see you next week.